Last month, I was solo traveling in Japan, and I was determined to explore this offbeat place called as the Ice Village. It is a magical frozen landscape, but getting there was difficult. It wasn't easy because they had only limited services. Plus, if you miss one, you would be stuck in the middle of nowhere, -5-degree temperature. The most cheapest and convenient way to get there is via bus, and it took almost 3.5 hours to 4 hours. And I had booked an early morning bus at 7:30 a.m. and a last written bus at 4 p.m. But there is only one small problem here, that is the Ice Village opens at only 5 p.m. A couple of hours towards the Ice Village, I was sitting in the bus, staring at the window, and I truly realized that I was in the middle of nowhere because as far as my eyes could see, everything was covered in white. Slowly, fear started creeping in, and I was telling myself that, Vanathi, it is okay, let's figure it out. Once I reached the Ice Village, I started to look for alternatives. And also the same night, I decided to stay near the airport because I had an early morning flight to Tokyo the next morning. And also, I went and asked about the possibility to reach the airport to a lot of people, and a lot of them were uncertain, and suddenly a lady appeared and she told me that there is a last train available at 8 p.m. So I immediately booked it, and by the time I was exploring a couple of places near that area, and once the clock struck 5, I was the first person to enter into the Ice Village, and what I experienced was something out of the world. I was literally dumbstruck because everything around me was made up of ice, and there was an ice bar, there was an ice post office, and they served me drink in an ice cup, right from the ceiling to the counter, like everything was made up of ice. Plus it was -10 degrees Celsius, I was completely freezing, but still I explored every corner of the place. I returned back, I got a shuttle bus to the station to get to the airport. En route I was checking for the stay options. It was either completely booked or super expensive. But also after some time I got to know about this onsen hotel right in the airport itself. But the only catch is it gets fully booked by 9 p.m. I thought I'll try my luck because there was no online booking as well. So I get there, and fortunately they had a couple of slots available. I got in and had the most relaxing onsen bath and rested in a pod, plus they had free breakfast, and all of this just for 2,000 Indian rupees. Pretty cool, right? Looking back at it now, if I had let logistics stop me, I wouldn't have experienced something that epic. So recently, I took one of the most boldest decisions of my life. I quit my high-paying job to pursue my passion of traveling the world. If there is one thing that I've learned over the years, it is that if you refuse to give up, the universe opens doors that you never imagined. This craziness of confidence did not come just like that. Let me take you back to a random day in 2016. So I was a 23-year-old girl whose biggest bucket list at that time was to travel to Leh Ladakh. I come from a super orthodox family. My parents had only one condition, that I can travel only if another female or a girl accompanies me. Knowing that, I went and asked every single girl in my life, I literally begged, they all said no. So I did not give up. I went and asked 4 guys that I know, but are a complete stranger to each other. They all agreed, and it turned out to be an absolutely epic trip. And if you have told that girl back then that she would be traveling for a living and would be standing on global stages and giving TED Talks about her journey, she wouldn't have believed it. But here I am, proving that all it takes is a little courage or craziness to change your life. Same year, a few months later, I went to Thikari with 2 of my friends. As usual, I planned everything for the trip, took them to cool offbeat places. During a conversation, I was talking about my favorite travel blogger and how amazing she is. That is when they told me that, why don't you be one? I was hesitant at first. After coming back home, I thought about it. I thought, why don't I try it? So that's when I decided all my personal photos and changed my profile, Vanathi Shiv, to a public profile. So that is how it all began. Cut back to 2017, I was traveling a bit extensively, and that is when I encountered a life-changing experience. Ask anyone who's into trekking. They'll have one trek that literally changed their life, and this is my story. So I went on a 3-day trek from Munnar to Kodaikanal. So I booked immediately when I read the word Kodaikanal. I also convinced 4 of my friends to join me, but none of us had any clue what to expect. So I was wearing a Nike running shoes, and I was carrying a sleeping bag just because it looked cool. And even though they mentioned that they'd be giving me one. And also I carried a thick woolen jacket, not knowing it was monsoon season over there. We had zero fitness, zero proper gears, On top of it, it was raining crazily. My bag felt 10 times heavier and I couldn't carry it. The next day, the stretch from Kumbhakarai to Vattakaral was the most difficult part of the entire trek. And somehow that day morning, we skipped our lunch, we drank all our water, we were completely exhausted. I was on the verge of fainting, but I did not. I pushed myself. I reached to this small hamlet called as Vellekavi that had no proper roads. Imagine the villagers still use the same trail to commute on everyday basis. I went and sat before a house. I hear a voice, Amma enge indu varinga. I replied her, Akka, we are coming from Chennai. She asked me, why are you sad? I told her we hadn't ate anything in the morning and I'm completely exhausted and I'm not sure if I would be able to complete this trek. And she immediately prepared me 7 dosas, plucked mushroom from her garden right in front of me, made a mushroom curry and served us all. We all ate so well. Her name was Sumati and she refused to get any money. Until this day, it was one of the, I'm extremely grateful for that meal that I've heard. Also, until this day, it is one of the most amazing trekking experience that I've encountered. And after coming back home, something in me changed forever. I started to take fitness and mountains very seriously. I started to work out consistently and I went on to complete 5 Himalayan treks in a couple of years. Post that, and cut back to 2019, I was still mad about mountains, I am, but I set my goal on climbing the 7th summit. As the first step, I started to train and save rigorously. And second step, I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. The moment I said I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, every single person around me said no, except for my husband. I was quite hesitant about it over the time, not because of the fact that everybody said no, but I had to travel solo to another country that kind of gave me the jitters. But one day my husband went ahead and booked the tickets for me. And that is how I went on my first international solo trip and climbed the world's largest freestanding volcanic mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro. And also I got the opportunity to explore go on a wildlife safari in Serengeti and Ngorongoro National Park, and I saw lions, elephants, and giraffes this close. And it was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. Coming back, I started to train to climb the world's tallest, Europe's tallest mountain, which is Mount Elbrus, which is located in Eurasia. But throughout the process, I kept asking myself why. Yes, I love mountains, but do I really need to chase that goal to prove that? I'm not rich. Climbing 7th summit means it's pretty expensive. I come from a middle-class family, and parents worked really hard to give me that education. Right from my wedding to every single trip I've taken, I've spent my hard-earned money. Not my father's, not my husband's, my own. Knowing that climbing 7th summit means I have to spend every single money to it or chase after sponsorships, I was not interested in that. I know it's an incredible achievement, but traveling doesn't need to be an achievement, right? Over the time, I also noticed that people are very much interested in the treks that I did in Karnataka, Taiwan, and Indonesia, and that kind of shifted my perspective, and I started focusing on treks that were relatable and accessible to everyone. And that gave me more joy. I do have immense respect in anyone who has climbed 7th summit or still pursuing, but I realized that's not a dream for me at that time, and I let go of it. A few months back, I was solo traveling in Hong Kong, and that's when I came to know about this challenging 100-kilometer trail called as the McCloskey Trail. And I decided to do a portion of it because of time constraint. But the fact that I need to hike all alone in a foreign country, not knowing the language, not knowing the terrain, or the emergency procedure kind of freaked me out. I was supposed to do this trek on a Thursday. I kind of chickened out at the last moment. But then later that day, I was telling myself, like, I may never get this opportunity again. Okay, I may never travel to Hong Kong again. If not when, then now. It's like, Vanathi, just go and do it. Give it a try. So next day morning, I set out early. I got into the bus, but nothing goes as per plan. I missed the bus. I took the wrong train. I got down in the wrong station. But I also walked another 5 kilometers extra to reach the start of the trek. But once I was on the trail, I experienced a side of Hong Kong that no one has seen or heard of. Like, I crossed some of the most remotest beaches in the world, and there were literally no one right there. And that's when I realized if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have got the opportunity to experience that side of Hong Kong or come here and talk to you about how amazing a side of Hong Kong is. And that was my first solo trek that I did in a foreign country, all alone, no guide, just me in some remote corner of the world. No classroom teachers, patience and resilience like travel does. Travel literally throws you into real-life challenges that no textbook can prepare you for. It doesn't teach you through lectures, but through lived experiences. By constantly pushing your limits, changing your perspective, and making you take bolder and smarter decisions, like missed flights or getting stranded in the middle of nowhere, getting your visa denied at the immigration, or losing $200 to a scam, getting stuck in a blizzard, losing your phone, falling sick, and falling down on a trek. Moments like these test you. But travel forces you to adapt, think on your feet, and proves that the strength that realizes that the strength that you never knew you had. Through every setback, through every challenge, through every doubt, I chose to keep moving forward. When my father suffered a major brain injury and we thought we had lost everything, including him, he survived. We held on tight. When my entire extended family looked down on me for joining an average college and wrote me off as a failure, I made sure they weren't even remotely right. When I quit my first job because self-doubt consumed me, I did not stop. I worked harder, I studied harder, and reached new heights. When I started to travel, everyone around me mocked me for being irresponsible and for wasting money. But I proved them wrong. Each time I returned back, I was stronger, braver, wiser, with unwavering sight. When the mountains I climbed tested me, pushed me, I fought back to reach new heights. Everyone around me said no, but I never took no for an answer because I knew my dreams were worth the fight. Resilience isn't never about falling. It is about rising every single time, no matter what the world throws at you.